Hello and welcome to our host orientation for adult students. My name is Raymond Coe and I'm your Edmonton CHN Relationship Manager for University Groups. I also look after international high school students assigned to the Edmonton Catholic School Board. My colleague Vidant looks after the Edmonton Public School Board students. We're generally available during office hours between 8 to 4 by email or phone. We also have two wonderful host ambassadors, Candice and Nadia. You can reach out to them regarding your due diligence papers and keeping your host portals up to date. You can reach out to us outside of office hours through our CHN toll-free emergency phone line, email, text, or chat. Our emergency on-call staff are available 24/7, 365. You may want to take a picture of this slide in case you need to reach out to us. Next, I'd like to briefly review our role as relationship manager. Before our students arrive, we do our best to help find the best match for students and hosts. In the real world, of course, there's no such thing as a perfect student or a perfect host. However, we try our best to come up with the best match as much as possible. Another essential part of our job is to collect your students' flight information from their agents and relay this information to you for their airport pickup and drop off. And as RMs, we also serve as mediators between our students, their clients and agents, and of course, you as host families. When your students are on the ground, we provide emergency support, communication, and even first language support in resolving any homestay issues or concerns that may arise. In my case, I speak Japanese, so if you or your Japanese students need language support, feel free to reach out to me for help. Remember that if we can nip a problem before it becomes full-blown, we have a better chance of resolving it. So the key is communicate and communicate, and we can't stress that more. And before your students depart, we help out with airport transfers as well as collect homestay evaluations to help improve future hosting. Next, I'd like to briefly review what homestay is all about. Homestay is basically a home away from home. Think of your own loved ones were to go to a foreign country. As parents, you'd appreciate having a family that can provide the parental support that you would want to give your own child if he or she were living in a different culture or an unfamiliar environment. We hope as host families, you will commit yourselves to provide warm family support just as you would your own children. As a host, you're an important link to our students as they learn about Canada, our diverse cultures, and our ways of life. Your influence will certainly impact these young students as you challenge them to broaden their own worldviews. As part of the host agreement you've signed with CHN, hosts are required to provide your students a safe, secure home environment. And that includes the student's own private bedroom with a bed, closet, or dresser, a study desk with chair and table lamp. We also expect you to provide your students with 3 nutritious meals a day since they are on full board meal plan. We also realize that many host families are busy, so breakfast and lunch can be simple. But we expect you to prepare home-cooked hot meals for dinner and encourage daily shared family time over dinner, where English communication will help promote your students' language development. We also promise our students an English-speaking environment. Some of you may be hosting students from the same country or nationality at the same time, but we still want you to enforce that your students speak English with each other. And we realize that some host families speak a second or maybe even a third language at home. but we expect you to speak English only whenever your students are around. During the first few days in the homestay, please go over with your students your rules for curfew, going out with friends or inviting friends over, regular school attendance, and other household rules. Just simply telling them doesn't mean they understood everything you said, so encourage them to ask questions or clarify what was said. And of course, when necessary, we also ask you to assist them with access to medical attention. Your adult students will have their own travel and health insurance during their stay. CHN has prepared this document called Homestay Expectations and Guidelines, which can serve as a conversation starter between you and your students to discuss the expectations and rules of the homestay. We recommend that your students write the answers to the questions on the list after discussing with them your household rules. You may also provide your students with a list of your own house rules. By clarifying these rules and expectations in the first few days, both you and your students can move on quickly to the most rewarding aspects of the homestay. As a host, you're responsible for informing CHN if your students are experiencing social or academic issues. Some of you are experienced hosts and have dealt with different issues. So please let us know if anything is going on outside the ordinary. We count on you to help be our eyes and ears. If you decide to move or sell your house, renovate your house, or do anything you think could affect your students' stay, please let us know. If you're having guests or expecting new family members who may be coming to stay in your house, CHN also needs to be informed. We don't want any surprises. Some of you may also be hosting students from other homestay company or programs. We also need to know that. If theft or damages occur, we cannot guarantee reimbursement because this goes through the insurance company. But CHN can help you figure it out if we're aware of what's going on. And of course, let us know if your student is missing for 6 hours and you have no idea where your student is. Regarding your due diligence, we do a review annually with our host families, which could be a simple phone call from our host ambassadors, where they ask you if the information you provided us is still the same. We go over your current address, people living in your home, pets, if you've done any renovations, etc. You have also promised to attend host meetings and keep up with CHN policies. As part of your host agreement, please don't make any payment arrangements with your students or their families. Sometimes host families decide to do private arrangements with their students, like cell phones or going on a trip. I paid this much and the student can pay me back. If you make private financial arrangements with your student and a problem arises, we can't help you. Try to maintain your criminal record checks. We'll ask you to update them every 5 years. We also ask for your annual offense declaration every year. This is a type of form you can also complete online. If you have any questions about due diligence, feel free to contact one of our host ambassadors for support. And finally, please maintain your home insurance, which includes the presence of a student in your home. Just in case something happens, you can claim damages or liabilities. Your monthly host allowance is paid to cover food, which may include some snacks, utilities, participation fees for family outings, and basic household items such as hand soap, laundry detergent, toilet paper, etc. Please note that the host stipend should not be considered income and should not be used as such. They're not used to purchase school supplies or pocket money, extracurricular activities, or personal toiletries. As you all know, CHN is a not-for-profit organization. The fees students pay must follow them if they change homestays. Therefore, say you're hosting a student for a couple of weeks, and for some unforeseen reasons, you're no longer able to host your student. So the student has to be moved to another host. Therefore, you'll only be paid for the number of nights the student was with you. The rest of the money will go to the new host. Whenever the student goes, that's where the money follows. We only pay for the nights your students stay at your home. And CHN requests that you do not discuss financial matters with your students, as this may be confusing for them. We talk directly with their agents and parents. Students rarely know what's going on with their payments. Contact us if you have any questions about payment, and please don't call our emergency hotline for payment issues. What is a relocation? It's basically when we move a student from your home to another home. This could be initiated by the student's agent, or the host. It can also be a CHN decision. Relocations do happen at a rate of 10 to 20% depending on the program, but it's often rare among short-term university group students. It's not personal. Even though we did our best to match, sometimes there may be personality conflicts or other complications that arise, which cannot be overcome, and a match may not work out as we hope. If that is the case, we may end up relocating your student. Please don't take it personally. There are many reasons to move a student, and we take that case by case. However, we don't relocate because of distance to school, food preferences, host ethnicity, or family makeup. If there's a problem, talk to your students first. And if you think that things are getting out of hand and you can't come to an agreement, contact us. If the hosting experience starts to impact you negatively, we would move the student. Next, I'd like to address your students' health and safety. Your students' physical and mental health is crucial for their academic success and day-to-day living. Here's a list of questions that you can ask and talk to your students to encourage a healthy mental well-being. Your students' physical, mental, and social well-being, of course, is of prime importance. Try to keep your communication open, honest, and judgment-free. Try to lead with open and informal questions. We believe it's important to set aside time each day to talk to your students. It can be one-on-one or in a family setting. CHN has zero tolerance for emotional, physical, or sexual abuse, or even neglect. And if you're hosting underage students, we are their custodians. We have a commitment to providing a safe and nurturing environment to all our students. CHN employees are obligated to report to Child Family Services. Other consequences may include student removal and even host rejection. These are a few of the identifiable physical and behavioral signs of abuse and neglect. Contact us immediately if you suspect any students showing any of these signs. Please talk to CHN if you're concerned about your student. And don't jump to conclusions. Some of these could just be teenage issues. Host families are frontline and will likely be the first to notice these signs. Next, I'd like to address food and culture. If you've ever lived in a foreign country for an extended period of time, most of you know what culture shock is. It's a common occurrence any one of us may experience when moving to a new country or a new culture or unfamiliar environment. There can be feelings of anxiety, confusion, or uncertainty when one has been uprooted from a familiar culture and ways of thinking or doing things. So please review these signs and watch out for them in your students. And as a host, you can help your students overcome culture shock by respecting their experience and validating their feelings. Remember, there's no such thing as a right culture or a wrong culture. It's just different ways of viewing the world and situations according to our cultural lenses, our cultural values, education, and how we were brought up. We all see the world from different worldviews, and the good thing is that we can always learn from one another. So help your students to overcome culture shock by understanding the reasons for cultural differences and by helping them see the positive aspects of the new culture. When communicating with your students, always keep in mind that English is not their mother tongue, even though they may have learned English at school. Other than the spoken language, pay attention to your nonverbal communication, such as body language, facial expressions, gestures, posture, etc. They will usually carry a feeling. Many of your Asian students come from high context cultures compared to our North American culture. Therefore, they often exhibit less direct verbal and nonverbal communication. In North America, our verbal communication generally tends to be more direct, and we rely on more explicit language to communicate our point. When communicating with your students, try to speak more slowly and rephrase if necessary. Try as much as possible to avoid idioms or colloquial language when speaking to your students who are not familiar with their meanings. If you happen to use them, explain what it means. And remember that it doesn't mean that your student understood or remember everything you've said just because you've told them once. Sometimes you may need to express the same thing in 3 different ways, including in written form, for them to completely understand you. Try talking to them at their language level and simplify your language. Rephrase and repeat whenever possible, and confirm their understanding by asking them questions or asking them to repeat what you've said in their own words. Next, of course, is food culture, which seems to be a very common part of culture shock. We all have our comfort foods. They bring satisfaction to our souls. You might want to take your students grocery shopping and have them pick out the foods they like to eat. You may even come up with an ethnic food night, for example, or even ask your students to show you how to cook their favorite dish. But one way to help your students adjust to your family food culture is helping them to be open to trying out new foods and giving your students the opportunity to share their foods with your family. Meal times are always a good time to check in with your students, so try to make good use of that family time together. Take your student grocery shopping for experience, but also learn about their food preferences. If you have any concerns about your students' food, please speak to us. Finally, let's briefly discuss homestay rules. The Student Participation Agreement is a document we send our students to sign. When they apply to CHN, they've agreed to sign this agreement. This is what we refer to in case a student breaks any homestay rules. We show them the SPA and tell them this is what they agreed on. An overview of what the SPA is all about. The students agreed to obey Canadian laws, be respectful and obey household rules, make an effort to be part of their homestay family, follow basic household rules such as keeping their bedroom and bathroom tidy after use, and assist with simple chores like washing dishes after meals, setting the table, and clearing the table. They must also remain in good academic standing by attending their classes and completing their assigned homework or evaluations. For adult students, technically we don't have a curfew, but you may want to explain to them your rules about curfew. Curfews are in place to make sure they're safe, that they get enough rest for school, and they don't disturb the household late at night. For adult students, curfew times are not set and can be changed for a special occasion, as long as you're comfortable and confident in your student. In a nutshell, we use the SPA when dealing with problematic behavior. In closing, on behalf of CHN, we do want all of you to know that this is important work cannot be accomplished without your help and support as host families. We are partners with you in making your students' homestay experience a fulfilling and successful one for all stakeholders. And we hope that some of these relationships will continue to last even after your students have left the homestay and returned to their home countries. We thank you for all that you do for our students.